But it's a great pleasure for me to present the 2008 awardee for the Distinguished Service Award. And this is, you may know, I mentioned a little while ago that it takes a lot of work to, from certain people like Sybil and many others to run this society that tries to provide great services to you. And one of those people, and when people do lots and lots of service, we like to honor them with the Distinguished Service Award. It's to recognize members who have displayed exceptional efforts that support the professional goals and enhance the stature of ASLO, and you, the members. Here's my presentation. Actually, I have more than this. Pete Jumars, and the short version of this is there really anything that Pete hasn't done for ASLO? I think it's, and that was, I think, the comment that was made. Now, the nomination for Pete came from Adrian Sponberg and Paul Kemp, and I asked them to provide a text for the presentation since neither could be here, and I asked for a certain amount, and they gave me twice or three times that much. And so for those of you who write for the Bulletin or for L&O methods, you might bear that in mind. But it's a delight. You really can't give an introduction of Pete that would be quite long enough or complete enough. And I will just read the presentation that Adrian and Paul asked me to read. It's with great pleasure that ASLO awards Pete Jumars with the ASLO Distinguished Service Award. One would be hard-pressed to find any part of ASLO that has not benefited from Pete's involvement in the society. In fact, Pete's nominators decided the award was overdue when Pete was being volunteered for yet another committee during a board meeting last year. While the board joked that there was probably not an ASLO committee that Pete was not already serving on or had not served on in the past, it's not really very far from the truth. It would be impossible to list all of Pete's contributions to ASLO, so instead we'll just summarize his major efforts. Pete's formal service to ASLO began in 1980 when he served on the board of directors as a member at large. 20 years later, Pete was elected as president-elect. Pete's presidency came at a time of transition for ASLO with the establishment of a policy office in Washington, D.C. Throughout his 6-year term on the board, Pete was instrumental in determining a science policy role for ASLO. Pete continues to serve the society in this regard as a member of the Public Policy Committee. Pete's presidency held several other challenges, not the least of which was establishing a new memorandum of agreement for the, or understanding for the biannual Ocean Sciences meeting, which is quite important to us financially and also intellectually. Pete also led an effort to survey the membership regarding ASLO services. One of the chief motivations of the survey was to determine how the board could best serve the increasingly international membership of ASLO. Pete also wanted to know how members felt about open access publication, which brings us to another major contribution of Pete's, which is the publications of ASLO. Well, it's hard to pinpoint where Pete has had the most influence within ASLO. He's been a key figure in the history of limnology and oceanography. He served as editor-in-chief for L&O from 1986 to 1992, and later served on the L&O Editorial Advisory Committee. Since 2005, Pete has served as the Associate Editor for Scholarly Reviews for L&O. Since 2006, he has chaired the Ad Hoc Committee on Open Access and has led a vigorous discussion of the challenges of open access, which inevitably will have enormous consequences for the society. Pete also serves on two other working groups considering new publications, the Ad Hoc Committee guiding the new Limnology and Oceanography Environments and Fluids Journal, the Ad Hoc Committee on Web Books. When we think about it, we may have nominated him for another committee during this past weekend's board meeting. Sorry, Pete. Although we try not to take extreme advantage of his great generosity. Pete's also been active in promoting ASLO beyond our own membership. Since 2003, he's participated in the Council of Scientific Society Presidents, an umbrella organization for professional scientific societies. During the biannual meetings, presidents of societies from all disciplines of science discuss issues of common interest, ranging from research funding to publications to new regulations for nonprofits, etc. Pete served enthusiastically on the council while he was ASLO president, and then agreed to continue serving beyond his term. he really is a monster. During the time he was elected, during that time he was elected as chair of the council, an honor that attests to the respect our colleagues outside of limnology and oceanography have for Pete. Pete's participation in this organization benefits ASLO in terms of learning from the experiences of other societies, very important these days, and networking with high-ranking policy officials. Additionally, Pete has been able to move several issues of import to ASLO, such as freshwater research, to CSSP's priority list, thereby adding the weight of this organization's 60 member societies, including their 1.4 million members, to ASLO's causes. 11 years ago, ASLO recognized Pete Jumars' scientific achievements with the Hutchinson Award that we saw just given just recently. Again, this afternoon, we recognize Pete's great contributions to ASLO with the Distinguished Service Award. Pete?
Thank you.
It's, on behalf of ASLO, it's a tremendous honor to present this award to Pete Jumars, the Distinguished Service Award, in recognition of his many years of service to ASLO and his exceptional efforts that support its professional goals and enhance its stature. Congratulations, Pete.
Thanks, Sybil. Great. Sybil and I get to fight over who's happier. I know, because I know how I felt when I hadn't finished my last official act. So what I'd like to do is give you a very short presentation on what I consider my service learning experience at ASLO, and encourage you to sample the menu, which is way more extensive than it was when I started with ASLO. Scientific societies like ours have been around for a long time, at least since 1603, although people argue about which society was really first. Galileo was a member of a society that had very much the same goals as ASLO. Run interesting meetings of people with common interests, and to publish its proceedings. The links that they took as their symbol fascinated them, because the links could obviously see much better than humans could. You've heard the slogan, the Invisible College. You probably don't, some of you may not know that it dates back to roughly 1646, and a group of people got together even before the Royal Society of London was formed. So people have been doing what we've been doing for quite some time. My message in my brief talk here is to find a society that fits you, and I think it's obvious that this one has fit me for quite a while. I now work, as John pointed out, with the Council of Scientific Society Presidents, and we're up to around 70 societies now. I'm stricken by how diverse society cultures are. I frequent TOS and AGU meetings as well as these, and you know how different, many of you know how different those are. It's remarkable how different societies are, and I encourage the younger members in here to find one that fits you, or mold one to fit you. ASLO's scope has expanded tremendously beyond meetings and publication. Public awareness, there's some great programs in education and outreach to get involved with. Stewardship in terms of science policy and scientifically based policy. The number of committees ASLO has, I just listed the standing committees. There are ad hoc committees, and if you don't like them, ad hoc your own committee. There really are a lot of things to do, and I can assure you that no standing committee was created that didn't have plenty of work to do. That is, these aren't done just to make people busy. I've been a member of ASLO since summer of 1969. I've known ASLO about 3 months longer than I've known my wife. You don't need experience to get experience in ASLO. It's not like getting a real job. I became editor-in-chief of L&O with what I would regard as remarkably little experience in editing. I learned on the job mostly. The editing thing meant that limnologists had recognized my name, so when it came to the election, I had a little bit of an advantage over my competitor. And this ASLO presidency led to the CSSP chairmanship, and that made me brave enough to become director of the School of Marine Sciences at the University of Maine. Sometimes this doesn't all sound like a good thing, but I like new experiences, and ASLO gives plenty of opportunity for those sorts of things. Just to give you one little vignette, I actually got my first academic job because of an ASLO meeting. It was in Oregon. I don't remember whether it was Eugene or Corvallis, but I remember Dick Epley, Angelo Carlucci, Mike Mullen, and Carl Bonsa playing pool and having beer in a small place in one of those two towns. That's where I met Carl Bonsa, and when a job came open at University of Washington, he wrote me and said, "Would you like to apply?" So this networking business is important, and it can't start too early. Thank you, and thank you for all the opportunities.
Have any questions for Pete? like why?
I can tell you where the drinks are. It's either in Corvallis or Eugene. I can't remember which. And it probably was the western division of ASLO back when there were divisions as well as the national meetings.
There's a question.
Oh, Alice.
What was, of all those things, what was the most fun?
Not doing the same one forever. That is, I like to try. Everyone has to figure out what makes them tick, and trying things that I don't know I can do is what makes me tick. So I keep looking for new things to try and I think the thing that doesn't work too well is doing too many things at once, so I'm trying to cut back a little bit.
Anything further? Thanks, Pete. That was great. And thanks for all that hard work. It's wonderful. Don't forget now the poster session starts very shortly over at Marconi Hall.